Hello, gold farmers. Welcome to another gold guide. Today I am going to go over with you what vanilla materials I usually sell, and a lot of these materials will sell fairly quickly. If they don't sell that fast, then I'll say something, but for the most part, here are the materials that you will either want to hold on to or post on the auction house instead of vending. First off, we'll be looking at a list of the cloths that I can usually sell. The fell cloth is a big one. One of my first videos I covered was a fell cloth farming location. At the time, if I remember right, I thought that they were selling for around 200 gold, and I farmed, it was pretty close to a stack, which they all sold for the 200 or 100 gold or whatever it was worth at that time. You can also sell the rune cloth and rune cloth bolts. If you want to spend a little extra time, you can turn your rune cloth into bolts, which will help increase the amount of gold you get from it. Rune cloth on my server is selling for about 25 silver each. If you turn it into bolts, I don't remember if it's 4 or 5, but you can fairly easily make a couple gold off of just turning it into bolts. Mage weave cloth is a pretty big seller for me. A lot of times, however, I will do the mage weave shuffle, but you can, if you don't want to spend all that time, then I would recommend that you do sell the mage weave cloth that you find. A lot of transmog farming locations, you can actually get mage weave cloth. I believe you can get mostly mage weave and rune cloth from most of the transmog farming spots. Same with silk, which silk cloth is a really big seller, and it sells for quite a bit of gold, on my server at least. So right now, the silk cloth is selling for 2 gold, and it's fairly easy to get. I've got a couple locations that you can get quite a bit of silk cloth. It's usually around 5 to 6 stacks an hour. The bolt of silk cloth is also a fairly big seller for me. Most of the stuff actually sells, most of the cloth that I sell will usually sell within 2 or 3 hours of me posting it. Not all the time though, because there will be some people who are posting small stacks for cheaper, just so they can get rid of it and make that little extra gold. Wool cloth is another one that sells. This one doesn't sell as quickly, but it does sell usually within the first 12 hours. And linen cloth. Linen cloth, I can usually sell it right after I post it. I believe this is because you got people who are trying to control the market, and it's also cheap enough that you can level up tailoring without spending a fortune on the sumptuous fur. Now we'll head over to leather. Leather isn't something that I will usually farm for, so I don't know how accurate some of these will be. This is just what I have sold fairly recently. And it looks like I might have to farm some green dragon scales because it looks like they had gone up in price. Either way, when I did my video covering the green dragon scale and worn dragon scale farming location, I posted them and they actually sold pretty quickly. I wasn't expecting them to sell, so I was pretty impressed with that. The heavy scorpion scales don't sell all that fast, so you can't really farm these and expect to make a lot. Rugged hides are also the same. I've got, I think, around 10 stacks of the rugged hides, and I've sold maybe close to 20 of them, but that's over a wide span of probably a year. They are nice to hold on to because the cured rug hides will also sell. The rugged leather is a pretty big seller. I've farmed probably close to 100, 200 stacks of this, and it seems like it always sells. There are some days where it just doesn't sell, but after I repost it, it will sell. I haven't come across it yet, and I think it's actually before the rugged leather, but the warbear hides, oh, there it is. I can actually get these to sell. I've sold around 400 of the warbear leather, and I've actually sold it for 1k each. If I wanted to, I could buy these out, but I'm not really looking to sell the warbear leather because I'm sitting on a stack and a half still. But this actually sells pretty quickly. One of my early videos, I show a farming location, and you can get around 80 warbear leather an hour, which is really nice if you're looking to make a little bit of gold. And keep in mind, these are items that I have good luck with selling. They might not sell for you, so don't get your hopes up and go farm all of the materials I'm listing off and tell me that you've only sold one. The Warren Dragon scales have gone down on my server, but you can get the worn and green scale in the same location. Thick hides, I'll usually just vendor. I don't typically like messing with the hides because their prices are really low, and I've just not had a whole lot of luck with selling hides. Thick leather, I can get it to sell, but it's not as quick as the cloth. Cloths and herbs, I have a lot of luck selling almost instantly. But the leather, probably because I don't farm it a whole lot, it just feels like I don't have anywhere near as the success as I do with the others. The heavy hide will actually sell. This is something that I have somewhat farmed for before, and it sells pretty quickly. Same with the heavy leather. Even though the heavy leather is pretty expensive, I've actually posted it at 75 gold, a couple stacks at that price when it was going that high, and they sold as soon as I posted them. I'm not sure why heavy leather is going for as much as it is. If anyone knows, be sure to comment and let me know, because out of all the leathers for vanilla, heavy leather has the highest price, and it seems to sell the fastest for me. I don't worry too much about medium hide, but the medium leather will sell decently quick too. I can usually sell it within the first 12 hours of me posting it. A lot of these scales and odd materials that you see me scrolling past, I don't farm, so I don't usually post them. So I'm not too sure if they sell. TSM says that they don't really have a fairly high sell rate, so I wouldn't imagine that they'd sell pretty quickly. But our last leather is light leather. The light hides, you can go ahead and post. They usually, if somebody buys out my light leather, they'll also buy the light hides. But light leather is another one of those ones that it can sell, but it doesn't always sell. And now we move over to metal and stones, which this one's probably going to take me a little bit longer to get to the vanilla materials. I would have just written down a list, but out of all the vanilla materials that I usually put in my bank, there's quite a few. True silver ore, gold ore, and bars. This is, I usually only post the bars because I'll send it over to my alt that has my guild bank, and then I'll post stuff. But you've got your true silver ore, gold ore and silver ore that they all sell pretty quickly. Ore is another one of those materials that I can usually sell pretty quickly after I'd posted it, but if I have more than just a few stacks, then that's where I'll sell a couple of stacks after posting it, but then the others will just sit there and expire. So if you plan on posting ores, then you'd have better luck just posting a couple stacks at once. The dark iron ore is one of my big sellers. I don't farm it very often, but when I do, it does usually sell right away. The dense stones, I'll usually just vendor because I don't know about now, but I remember back when you used to be able to buy out all the dense stone and actually profit from vendoring them. So I just don't usually post the dense stone anymore. I don't see any of the thorium ore, but I've not had a whole lot of luck selling the thorium ore. I'm not sure if that's because a lot of people farm the arcane crystals and thorium ore is just too common for people to buy. But I wouldn't really farm the thorium ore without doing a thorium shuffle and just selling the arcane materials that you get. Mithril is a pretty big seller for me. I can sell it within about 6 hours of me posting it. Mithril is about the only ore that I'll spend time to craft into bars because the bars sell pretty quickly too. Iron ore, it sells, but I'd recommend doing a iron shuffle, which all these shuffles that I'm mentioning I will go over. Basically for the iron shuffle you just prospect it. Bronze bars will also sell. You can actually make quite a bit of gold if you watch the auction house for cheap tin and copper ore. Tin ore and bars I've not really had a whole lot of luck selling. I can usually sell about a stack or two, and not for this price, but I can usually sell about a stack or two, and then the rest of them will just expire. And same with copper. I'm going to skip the cooking section because it's a hit or miss on what sells. Though the bear flank, which you get from farming warbear leather, I've had a lot of luck selling that, and it's not a cheap material either. I believe it's at around 10 gold per flank right now, and I wasn't expecting it to sell. I posted all of my rare flanks up, and they'd all sold, so I was pretty stoked about that. I don't see any on the auction house right now, but Wildvine is something that sells pretty quickly, and it sells for a lot. In fact, my next video, I believe I will go over a farming location for that. A lot of people will rely off of it dropping from mobs, but I have a route that drops a good amount of them. You gotta love people who post in stacks of one. Alright, so now that we are getting closer to the vanilla herbs, the ice cap, I don't usually farm. That's because you can only get it in winter, spring. But when I farm for the arcane crystals, then I'll also try to pick these up, and they sell pretty quickly. If you see people posting items for 75 gold like this, then I would recommend undercutting them, because they're just trying to control the auction, and a lot of times people won't actually buy them for that much. The mountain silverage, I've had a lot of luck selling, and same with the dream foil. The dream foil doesn't sell as quickly. Usually when I post all of these, I will sell a lot of the mountain silverage and where's the other one? The golden sandsome. Those will usually sell almost instantly after me posting it, and the dream foil will sell later on. Grimm's blood, I don't know why it's this cheap right now, but the Grimm's blood is a hit or miss if it sells. I usually just do a Grimm's blood shuffle, which I send them over to the character I'm on now, and I will mill them and make quite a bit more gold that way. The ghost mushroom is used in making dyes, which some of the dye is used for a few transmog items, I believe, which is why this is selling for this much. Because this is a rarer herb, I can get it to sell, but it usually sells when I have more than just a few like this. Blindweed, I don't really have a whole lot of luck selling. A lot of times I'll just mill it. The sungrass sells pretty quickly for me. There's another herb that you can use. Yep, here it is. The fire bloom, however, doesn't sell a whole lot for me. So I will also send this over and mill it. The purple lotus, I can usually get it to sell pretty quickly. The purple lotus that I don't sell, because I will usually farm a couple stacks of purple lotus, and I know some of you are probably thinking I'm crazy, but that's the route I plan on showing in my next video. The Khadgar's whisker is a pretty fast seller. I can usually get it to sell within 5-10 minutes of me posting. The dragon's teeth is also a big seller. It's a harder herb to get because it only spawns in one area, and within that area it spawns in a very small part of the zone. The fade leaf is just like the Khadgar whisker. I can get it to sell usually within a couple minutes of me posting it, and same with the gold thorn. The gold thorn, I believe, is used in some sort of transmog item. I don't know if you turn it into a crafting material and then use it as a transmog item. I just remember it being really hard to come across and it selling for quite a bit. Life fruit, I can get it to sell usually within about 6 hours of me posting it. And same with the King's Blood. It's usually anywhere around a couple minutes of me posting it to about 12 hours after me posting it, it'll sell. And a lot of the items that I do sell, it's not for the insane overpriced amounts that you're seeing on my auction house at the moment. It's usually around the average amount for my server, which is 7 gold for the wild seed bloom. So it's nothing insane. The wild seed bloom, I don't have a whole lot of luck selling, but I don't usually post a whole lot on the auction house either. It looks like I might create a route for that because it looks like it's actually got a fairly high item value at the moment. The Bruceweed, I can actually get it to sell within about a day of me posting it. Same with the other herbs that you usually farm with it, the Briarthorn and Madroil. Those will usually sell around the same amount. I don't have a clue as to why the market value for this is almost 70 gold. And same with the Swift Thistle. I guess I'm going to have to check that out, but either way, all of those herbs sell for me pretty quickly. The earthroot, peace bloom, and silverleaf are all somewhat iffy if I can get them to sell. Though I do still pick them up and sell them if I can. The last material I'll be going over is the enchanting stuff, and this is just going to be a brief introduction of what sells, just because I'm already at 31 minutes for the video, and all of the dust that I've posted just sells. And the main reason I'm actually going to come over to the vanilla herbs isn't because I'm going to show you what I have a lot of luck selling, but for the prices of which I can actually sell them for. This is why I love shuffles, and why I recommend that you at least try it. My favorite shuffle is the either Mage Reef shuffle or the Runecloth shuffle. So, the Runecloth shuffle will yield the Dream Dust, and Dream Dust is selling for 6 gold right now. I can buy on average a stack of Runecloth for anywhere from 50 gold to 25 gold, which I turn that into bolts, and then I turn the bolts into a crafted green, and then I'll disenchant them. Now, a lot of people might think that's a waste of time and not worth it, but I can get about a stack of Dream Dust with a stack of Runecloth. You do the 6 gold times 2, and that's 1.2k you just made from only spending a very little amount. The Vision Dust is even better, which you get from the Mage Reef shuffle. A lot of times people will make the Mage Reef or the White Bandit's mask, which is what I do. If you don't have it, then you can look for it on the auction house. That's one recipe that you probably shouldn't worry too much about spending an insane amount of gold on, because you will make a huge profit. Mage Reef Dust I can usually buy from anywhere from 25 gold to 10 gold a stack, and the amount of gold that you can make is just insane. I believe you get 50 bolts out of a full stack of the Mage Reef cloth, so that's 50 White Bandit masks, and each bandit mask drops anywhere from, I usually get 2 to 5 of the Vision Dust, but you do have a chance of getting 1. But that adds up pretty quickly. The Strange Dust also sells pretty quickly for me, and same with the Soul Dust. The Strange Dust is a pretty decent shuffle. You can buy the linen cloth and wool cloth off the auction house for fairly cheap, and it's not as profitable as the vision dust and dream dust, but it still is a pretty good gold maker. I believe that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content.